Hello and welcome back to the Say It How It Is podcast. It's where today I am Ffion Lewis and I finally get the nice microphone.
She's been going on about this flipping microphone for the whole season.
Look, it's just so flexible.
And now that roles are reversed, in this episode, she gets my seat.
Today we are joined by Ffion Lewis, Welsh International, Say It How It Is podcast co-host.
Thank you so much for having me.
And general all-round great person and dog lover.
Oh God, thank you very much
Kate,
for having me.
would you like to introduce Kate?
Yeah, I'll introduce Kate.
Yeah.
Why not?
It's just weird. Thanks for having me on my own show.
I know.
And yeah, my best friend Kate joined us today. I've known Kate for 26 years now.
God.
It's a life sentence.
We're old.
We are old.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
Yeah. We've gone through it, haven't we? We've gone primary school, college, life after.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're still going strong.
We are the dolphin and the cow.
Oh, goodness.
I sent her
But
a
obviously
meme.
Kate's the dolphin and you're the
And I'm
cow.
the cow, yeah. I sent her a meme of like, one was there's a dolphin and a cow, and it said, what did it say? Like friends.
It said when you've grown up best friends, but you've gone down different paths or something.
I'm the cow, she's the dolphin.
And just for context, she's a rugby player. I'm an actor. I'm not just saying that she looks like a cow.
No, I'm owning it myself.
No, you don't though. You're stunning.
Sorry,
Okay.
I just thought of, I'm owning it myself. Like moo, because cow.
Right.
Oh.
Well, so this episode is about you.
Oh God, I don't feel a bit nervous.
Well, I don't mean
Holding on to this chair. Like,
that's what I do. Yeah, take it away. Oh, don't.
You've
Okay,
got it. It's like
you've got this. Would you like the tissues?
maybe. I've spoken about this so much today.
No, I know, but it's overwhelming.
yeah.
I don't know why I put mascara on.
It's because you haven't had your lashes done, babe.
Oh, I haven't on my lash down. I'm thinking about it as well. She can't fit me in, so bless her.
Maybe she'll see this now.
Look what you've done.
She does listen to it, but she's so
Oh.
good. She's just always booked up.
She'll fit you in now.
Yeah, so, well, you're meant to be asking me the question.
Yeah, but the thing is, to be honest, I don't know where to start.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, yeah,
Right,
my
okay.
story is obviously the title.
Yeah.
I think, I feel a duty, really, that created this podcast to obviously have incredible people on. Not that I'm saying I'm incredible, but...
Oh, you are.
No, that's not where I'm going with this. But I mean, like, inspiring stories or stories of, things people have been through, to sharing them to help somebody else. And, like, we've had people coming on and being really vulnerable. And I said to myself when I was planning season 1, like, if it, it goes the way it goes and I feel brave enough to do so, I want to end the season with allowing that to be me too. So, like I said, I'm going to have all these people on being vulnerable, then I feel like I have a duty to them to be vulnerable as well. So, yeah, now it's my turn.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, when you came to me with the idea of Say It How It Is, there's a reason behind, everyone that knows you knows that is Ffion to a T.
Yeah.
Like, she's very upfront, very, like, face value. What you see is what you get. That's come from somewhere. Yeah.
For God's sake,
I don't like that I'm far
yet.
away from you, so I want to hug you.
Yeah, it has. Obviously, I spoke a lot on the podcast around the reason why I wanted to set the podcast up. Speaking out about my endo was a taste of what being vulnerable was like. Speaking out about it. I obviously said how worried I was speaking out about that because, yes, it is scary to be vulnerable, but it showed me afterwards that, okay, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been through a lot growing up that I've protected, I suppose, and been too ashamed to share. If you want to jump in, Kate.
Sorry. I think...
I got Kate on this episode because obviously we said at the beginning we've been friends out my entire life,
Yeah.
and Kate's been the constant.
that you can kind of speak to. I feel like we've been through it all, so you know, yeah,
every single thing from positive to negative, from any
highs to lows,
school, any graduation, any boyfriend breakups.
Oh my gosh,
we've been through it all. Like we literally, I'm not even joking, that we see each other twice a year.
I know, it's
if
ridiculous,
that.
really.
But she's the friend that, like, that does not matter. Like, we have a tradition every Christmas, so it doesn't matter how little we see each other.
We make gingerbread heads.
Yes. I go to Kate's house every year. Make fresh pizza. Your mum treats us like, it's like we're kids again.
Exactly.
Makes us pizza, fresh pizza, and then we make gingerbread.
Nice.
Well, you were my first sleepover. You know, first concert. We went to the X Factor, if you remember.
Each other's first everything, really.
Yeah, literally. But I think we were talking before this, and I was saying to you that I think this is going to sound really weird, but you are a bit like Hannah Montana in the sense of exactly, but you very much got two lives.
Yeah.
Which particularly, I think around the age of maybe 16, that became something that you kind of had to have to kind of like protect yourself. And and I think now you feel maybe ready, or I think it's something that you need to kind of release, because it's a lot.
I think spot on, really. I think I've carried this really heavy pressure that I've lived these two lives. I describe it as an old life and a new life, purely because I was so ashamed of my old life that my new life, I just had to protect me. And I think that's how I've survived, is that I didn't want to be the result of someone else's actions. I didn't want my future to be, I didn't want that to define me. So I kind of, like Kate said, I got to an age where I just create this new life and this new me. And I've carried this pressure of keeping that a secret. Not, like a secret in a sense. Like, don't get me wrong, that people know when people talk, I'm well aware, and people ask questions. But I've never publicly spoken about it, and there's only... I probably count on one hand the people I've actually shared my actual story with. It's very private, very personal, and like I said, like you mentioned, Kate, like it's basically being a self-protection thing. Basically more around being judged and being viewed based on someone else's actions rather than my own. So and I'm at a stage now where I've spoken about it a lot, which now people listening to this episode will probably resonate with what I'm actually saying when I'm saying that this year has been big for me in regards to acceptance, learning a lot about myself. I've grown so much, like my mental strength has really changed, and I'm kind of ready to let go now. I knew this day would come. I didn't know when the day would come, but
I think you've got to see it as this is a chance for you to control your narrative. And I think you're at a place now where you've reached that point and you can kind of share it. And I think we said that like the double life kind of started when you were 16, because that's when we both went to college. And then when you really got into your kind of rugby and started to build that kind of side.
I think, like I said, I knew this day would come. I didn't know when it was going to come, and I wanted to be in complete control of how this happened. I think it's like fate. Like, I believe that everything happens for a reason, and flipping heck, if me getting injured and creating a podcast was for this reason, I don't know, but I knew, and like, I always wanted this day to come, because I knew that people listening to my story could really benefit from, and I could help someone from me sharing it, but I had to be ready. I had to be strong enough, and I had to be ready for when it was going to happen, and I haven't been. But now, oh my God, I'm so ready. I'm so ready to get rid of it. I just want it. I feel like it's going to be a weight off my shoulders. Like you're saying, like living this double life of every single day, like protecting this so many years of, because I was so ashamed of it that like every single day there's a question or something that I'd have to not lie about, but like had to basically still protect. So I'm just ready now that to let go, really.
Okay, this old life. Where does it start?
Where does it start, kid? Gosh, God, I was probably very young. Like probably when I was about 6 or 7. I'd say so,
And we grew up in Armanford.
Yes, that's the big thing, My old life, grew up in Armanford. with a different family that I'm living in now. Come from a pretty broken home.
Yeah, I think it's so
I keep
hard.
looking to Kate because I keep going to cry, and then Kate's answering my sentences. But
I think with the broken home, that was something that very much developed over the years, wasn't it?
It got gradually worse over time.
Yeah.
My biological parents, one wasn't around for a big period of time, and one unfortunately had an issue with alcohol, which really caused serious issues for me growing up. Issue for me as a kid, like with friendships, with my development, with school. I was so naughty as a kid. Like, I got written off so much because my behaviour was not because I was just naughty. My behaviour was because I was coming to school from something that was broken. Growing up then, like, I was getting judged around, like, I felt I was carrying the shame and facing the consequences of someone else's actions rather than I was just a fucking kid. And school was horrible. I hated it. I didn't really have any support. And it's different now, where we're in a society and a generation where kids going through those things would be a lot more supported and protected, where I wasn't.
Do you feel very alone?
Yeah, I felt, and biologically, I'm actually an only child. I don't have any biological siblings. So my life grew up basically just me. Like looking after myself every day as if I was literally a kid. Like, I'd have to think how I was going to survive the day. And then going to school with everyone speaking about or knowing what I was going through and judging. And like, you know, I'd have my friends' parents saying, oh, you can't be friends with Ffion, or you can't go to Fion's house, you can't do this with Ffion because of X, Y, and Z. And like, obviously I understand now as an adult why as a parent you do that to protect your child, but I was just a kid and I needed that support, and if anything I was losing it because of what I was going through when I needed it so much.
You didn't have stability, did you? You didn't know what you were going to go back to. So like geez, when we were kids, like we spoke about it in the car on the way to the studio, where we'd like, you know, I'd come home from school as a child on the weekend, and I'd be, part of my routine would be searching the house for alcohol. Like we spoke about earlier, like me and Kate would it's not funny, but we would be like, we'd have a routine where we'd go through the wardrobe, we'd go through the coat pockets, we'd go in the airing cupboard, we'd check the washing machine to find bottles, and we would find some every single time. And like, as a child, like being 9 years old and doing that with your friends, like as if that's the norm, and that was my norm. And seeing it now, you just like, you don't realise.
And it was crazy, like I say, like Kate's been the constant for me, but I lost so many people because people shut me out because of, again, the actions of adults. And like I said, I just felt very, very lonely, but I didn't realise that at the time. I didn't realise how lonely I was because all I was doing was surviving.
And it's like we were saying about your house, like we saw your house as a place, like it sounds really bad, but we'd call it the bus stop, the place where we could just go and do whatever, no consequences. And as a kid you think, oh, that's great, but like looking at it now, you needed that kind of like guidance, that care, that
I had no one to answer to. Like as a kid, I'd like, you know, my biological parents would just go away and leave me on my own, or they wouldn't be around, so they'd just go and I'd be by myself. And I'd go and stay wherever I wanted on weekends. I'd do what I wanted. I'd stay out all the time because I had no one to answer to, and I just did what I wanted. And I was literally not even a teenager at this stage. And like Kate said, it could be deemed as cool because you got this freedom.
But it's not like a normal
and it wasn't until later life where I realised how not normal that was. It's a funny one, really. Like, the only thing I've really felt like I had was sport. But even in sport, I kind of got written off because I was just too much effort for people. You know, I did have some coaches. Like I can remember one football coach. I used to play for a team called Ffion. It's very
played against them.
Well, and one coach called Gareth, he used to pick me up every training session and every game. He kind of had an idea of what I was going through, and he was someone that was like, I don't care what you're going through, I'm going to be there to support you and pick me up all the time. If I was someone like that, I wouldn't be playing football. I played football for a long time, and that was my out. That was my only safe space. So sport for me has been that kind of like safety thing. But other than that, I literally didn't have anything else. And And like I said, like when I was younger, all I had to do was try and survive.
Yeah.
Um,
It's nuts as well because, like you said, like so many people obviously knew, but where was the help and the support? But
Yeah.
like
it was kind of just like like I said earlier, like I kind of just got judged for being like, oh, can't be friends with Ffion, can't associate with Ffion, because
But no one actually thought to ask.
No one
Are
did.
you okay?
no one.
Because you're a child.
I'm not lying
Yeah.
to you. No one.
Yeah.
School, I had no one. I can remember one parents' evening. So not my biological parents came with me, but someone in my care came to my parents' evening, and they were like, you know, going to teachers, and the teachers were just hammering me. And the person that came with me was like, do you understand what she's going through? Like, you sat here like ruining this child, like completely going at her, but you have no idea. Do you actually understand what she's going through? Like, there's a reason that the way she is, do you understand what's going on at home? And we were met with silence. It's so different now, where I do think that something like a school system is different, and there's so much more support. If I fast forward flipping however many years now, and I am a qualified teacher and I taught in a school, it changed my perspective massively, and I treated the kids as if I was teaching me, and I gave them so much time in a different way, because I knew what it felt like to have someone like that doesn't understand.
Yeah, it gives you a completely different perspective on it, I suppose. Do
Yeah.
you think that was a big motivator in why you wanted to become a teacher?
Being honest with you, you actually, funny enough, again, something you now understand. Do you remember when you interviewed us all in camp and you asked us, what do you want to be when you're older?
Yeah.
The reason why I don't have an answer is because I've never known, because I've never had the time or the capacity to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah, or the guidance, I suppose.
I've never
like, oh,
known.
you're interested in this, maybe do this, but you've never had that.
Because I grew up with so much going on all of the time, I never had the time. I didn't have anyone sit me down and be like, oh, what are you interested in? I never had anyone to be like, do you enjoy this? I never even had the capacity to, because all I was thinking about was surviving.
Yeah.
And I had to think about like what these adults were doing, and like looking after all these older people when I was a kid.
Yeah, you
that I
essentially
didn't
have
have
to be the adult.
And I've been an adult since I was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that in my later life, which is what really affected my mental health, was because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I ended up falling into teaching, which I actually love.
Yeah.
And I think that perspective of knowing why I was doing it was important. Probably going to cry now, but when I was teaching, oh God, it's, wait, give me a minute. When I left teaching, so got offered a full-time contract to be a rugby player. I'd been teaching for 5 months, but I'd been in this school previously because I did my PGC placement there, so I kind of knew the kids before I started my teaching. So I had a decent relationship with them, and I really enjoyed my job. And there was a pupil that reminded me so much of myself. Not the best behaved, and people always used to question me, like, "Oh, why do you give them so much of your time?" And I was thinking to myself, it's because that was me.
Yeah.
And like, I understood why they use sport as kind of like an out, because it just, when you're from a broken home, like, you try and find something that provides you a safe space and a safe community, and like, sport gives you that team ethos where it gives you that family feeling where you don't get at home. And then this child, doesn't come from much, but when I was leaving, gave me this card, and in the card they wrote, "Thank you for never giving up on me."
Oh.
And that is you being the person that you needed when you were younger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm going to go now.
Yeah. I know.
And that's stuck with me to this day. Like, it's nearly been 2 years since I left the school, and I think about that card every week. I've still got it in my safe box under my bed. And yeah, that's stuck with me because, like you just said, it's something I live by, and the reason I'm trying to do what I'm doing in this new life is be who you needed when you were younger. And receiving that card from that child was like, that child needs me, and that child needs to see that there's hope for anyone. Doesn't matter where you come from or what you're going through. Your upbringing doesn't define you.
Yeah.
And that's a real motivation for me.
Yeah. The quote that I read before before we start recording is that don't let your past shouldn't be a cage, it should be a springboard. I think you're the literal definition of that.
Yeah, I think like I grew up with this fear of everyone wrote me off. Like every fucking bastard wrote me off. Like no one had any faith in me or any confidence, any time for me. I was a kid crying out for love and support, and no one had any time for me at all. And I literally was like, I said to myself, everyone assumes I'm going to be like a nothing, a nobody, not get through school, have no qualifications, and just be nothing pretty much. And that's what everyone assumed that I was going to be. So everyone just accepted that. Yeah. So that fueled me to be like, I'm going to be the complete opposite. And when I tell you that has been my fuel every single day, like there's been dark days when everyone's telling me what I'm doing is the wrong thing and people haven't agreed with the decisions I've made, but I knew why I was making those decisions, and I knew why I was doing it and who I was doing it for. And there's been a reason for every decision I've made in my life, because I knew that it was coming to like basically creating my future rather than defining it. And yeah, like flipping heck, when I look back, like I was going through the care system, and came out with my GCSEs. I had GCSEs, like, you know, I was going with kids the same age as me to school, you know, that had different home life to me and had worse results. And I'm stood there like, how on earth have I come out with these with everything that's going on? Like, you know, got through uni, got a stable job, been in a position where now, obviously like I'm playing for Wales and stuff. Like,
whoa.
My old,
don't just say.
I know.
Don't just say I'm in a position where, you know, like I'm playing for Wales. That's a big deal.
I know. But I'm saying it in the sense of like, if you knew my old life and knew how people perceived me, these people now are like, how on earth? And like this new life, people just see me as this normal person from a normal family. And that's exactly how I wanted it to be perceived, because I didn't want anyone to treat me any differently in a negative or positive way. That's why I've never spoken about it, because I just wanted to be normal. That's all I wanted, to be normal, and I didn't want my old life to have an effect on that, if that makes sense.
I think we've touched on it before, but it's post-traumatic
growth.
I can't speak.
See?
Post-traumatic growth.
And all these things all these things sense. I say are relevant. And like, I think I've maybe said to you in the car, Kate, that like I've done interviews in the past with rugby where like I get emotional interviews. I think there's two, one in my school, and I did another one with Wales where I got emotional, and things I'm saying, I talk about like, you know, being dropped and stuff, but what I'm actually saying when I'm talking about not being good enough and stuff is actually to do with my life, is my childhood, my past.
But no one knows that.
No one knows that, but I knew that. So when I'm getting emotional, I know why. And like I don't care that these people don't know why, but I know, and like big milestones like that, like obviously getting a professional contract, I'm emotional because who on earth would have thought that this kid that's been written off, that has been chucked through the mill, is in this kind of position.
But I think it goes to show, like, I can imagine when you were young, you weren't thinking like, oh, I'm going to make it as a professional rugby player.
No, God, I wasn't.
No, but it goes to show that it genuinely, and again, the stuff you say around like, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. Like,
it's big.
And for you to say this to, I can't even imagine the amount of people that would listen to this that have been through something that is similar, or that feel the same feelings towards like resentment of a past, or something where they thought that they had a ceiling, a glass ceiling above them, that thought, well, I'm never going to be able to achieve anything. Like, this is a very big thing for you to come out and talk about and to say, and I'm going to get emotional.
I'm not going to lie, this is the scariest thing I've ever done. Like, I'm fucking been bricking it. Like, I've spoke with Dale, our psychologist, and I've spoke with Drew Povey, who's, I'm telling you, he's going to be guest.
He is going to be sat on that seat.
And they've helped me so much to like help storyboard this moment.
It's big. It's a huge thing.
And I'm not lying. This is the scariest thing I've ever done. Like, I'm 27 and I've protected this part of me for the last 20 years. It's a big deal to be like, when you've protected a life because you want to be deemed as normal, and I've protected it because I just, like, obviously we'll get into it later in the episode, but like, going into this new life with this new family that I'm in, I didn't want anyone to think that I wasn't a part of that family. Like, I wanted that so much that I was, if anyone else knew what was going on, that I wasn't actually a part of it, then that doesn't, for me, I was like, then that means it's not real, you know? So that was a big thing around why I also was so scared of people knowing, because then that would mean that this new life that I'm in isn't real anymore. But yeah, this is a really big step for me. Like, like I said, this is the biggest and scariest thing I've ever done. But also for me, it's like I'm trying to give myself like credit to show where the growth of me, because like I said earlier, they knew this day would come. I didn't know when it would happen, but when it did come, then I knew that I'm a different person now. And like I'm at this stage where I'm like, you're strong enough, you're brave enough. And I just feel like this today shows how far I've come now, because it's something I've been so scared to do, but I'm just ready for it now. So hopefully after this, I'm going to feel like 10 stone lighter, but it'll be like a new chapter, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, there's lots of questions in
Go
there.
for it.
So,
for context, Gwen didn't actually know any of this.
Yeah, so I'm learning just as much as you guys. So when did the quote-unquote old life, when did that... I'm going to ask 2 questions, actually. When do you think that was at its worst?
Oh my God, it hit me right in the feet.
Sorry, you actually sent me a meme yesterday to stop saying sorry, so I'm going to not say sorry.
A big one, I think. Definitely around alcohol, where Kate was there. We had an episode with drink driving, where I had to basically like take the wheel as a child. It was like 4 of us in the car, and that was a really dark moment, because that was when my friends finally knew that something wasn't right. And I was so embarrassed. I felt so much shame. We were going to the cinema, and this happened before the film, and then obviously this all happened, and then it was kind of like I still had to spend all these hours with these people that
and pretend to be normal.
That was fine, but it wasn't fine because we were all scared as shit. And then life changed after that, because my friends weren't allowed to be friends with me, or weren't allowed to come to my house, and then people started to find out like this is what's going on. It was like Chinese whispers, and it was that was a really dark place, because like I mentioned earlier, I was then carrying the shame and facing the consequences of someone else's actions. And like I said, I needed the support, but then I was losing it.
How did it feel to feel so out of control as well? And I can now again appreciate how much controlling the way you react to things is so important to you.
Yeah, difficult, because as a child, I didn't know I was good enough for change. So I'd always get so upset, and I'd be like, why can't you change? Because like, why am I good enough for you that you understand that like I'm important? So, like, you're affecting my life so much, and you're my biological parent, the both of them, to be fair, not just the one. Like, they both like I said, my other one went away was not present for a while. Like, they both did things where like they were in control of, and I'd always question, like, why aren't I good enough? Like, you've brought me into this world and I'm your responsibility, but like I'm still not good enough for you to change.
Do you feel a lot of responsibility for what they were doing?
Yeah, and I felt like I had to, like you said earlier, I had to be the adult. And like, obviously, with one of them having an issue with alcohol, like, yes, now I understand that it's an illness, but decisions that were made, I didn't understand why they wouldn't stop making them. Like, there was help available and stuff, and they refused to take them. And I was literally, I think I was like 10. I remember being stood in the conservatory, being like crying, being like, why won't you take the help? Like, I need you as my parent to get better and to like and to fix it, and you won't take it. And I just felt like worthless, because I was like, I just felt that I wasn't important, and I just, like, again, come back to being lonely. I was just a bit like, I'm not good enough.
That's such a mature perspective to have as a 10-year-old though, as well. Like, for you to be able to stand there and say to them, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and that was my life. And I had to grow up so fast. And that was the difficult part. I felt like my childhood was taken away from me, really, because I had to, I'd come home every day not knowing what I was coming home to and having to do my own washing, cook my own food. Like, so I'm so fussy eating because I didn't have anyone making me dinner. Like, I had to see what was in the freezer and put that in the oven. Like it's funny now because everyone's like, you're so fucking fussy, and I'm like, I know I'm fussy, but I don't choose to be fussy. Like,
Was it on when was it the other day? We were in Dubai. There was when was it? Someone was saying, "Oh, you're fussy." Was it the woman on the? Was it the?
Oh yes, it was the woman. Yeah, no, we were in the airport.
In the airport,
and she was
in
like,
Hard
I
Rock
asked for
Cafe.
everything, not
She
in.
said, "Can I please get the nachos? But can I not get X, Y, and Z?" And she says, "Oh, have you got any allergies?" No. Oh, so you're just fussy? Yes.
But it's true. Like, I used to literally live off like chips and chicken nuggets, and like it wasn't until this new life and I was in this new family where I knew what fresh food was. Like fresh. I didn't like chicken breast. Like, I didn't like vegetables. Like, I didn't like anything. And that, you know, I was like a teenager at this point where you're already in habit. So like, it was just I just didn't know a different life. That was just my life, you know. And I just felt very abandoned. I felt very alone. Like, and it's why I view my friends so differently now. And I think maybe this podcast is maybe understanding for them too. Like friends have been my family, because friends for me have been the family that I haven't had. And when I haven't had anyone, my friends have been the ones that have been there. Like the nights and days I spent in Kate's house, like her mother basically like helped bring me up. Like, I've been in everyone else's houses. Like, I spent my life every weekend staying in someone else's house because I needed, that was the safe space. My own home wasn't that. So I suppose transitioning into the new life that I was in was difficult because I was so used to running, as my mum now tells me. You were a runner, but running was how I could survive, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so how, talk to us about then the transition between old life to new life. That transition period, like you just touched on, must have been extremely difficult in itself.
Well, talking about being mature, I actually left myself. So I think, was I 10? I think I was 10. Packed my own bags.
I'm packing my bags.
Packed my bags and I'm leaving. You ain't gonna see this place again. I packed my bags and I was like, I'm leaving. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I actually
can't get my head around a 10-year-old doing that.
I was like, I'm not doing this. I packed my bags. I moved out to my auntie's house that we were close with, and I moved in there. She obviously understood what was going on, so she was open to it. And it was in the spare room. Put my all my stuff in the drawers. Went to school the next day as normal. Came home from school to my auntie's house, and she was like, "They've been." I was like, "What do you mean? Your stuff's gone?" I was like, "What?" "Yeah, your stuff's gone. They've taken your stuff." I was like, "Oh my God, I feel trapped." Like, I'm a child, like, moving myself out,
trying to get yourself
and you're
into
taking
a
me back.
situation.
And I took it into my own hands, and I just felt like it was like a bungee rope, like pulling me back in.
You think that you've got that, you think you're away, and then they're just pulling you back in.
It came to a point then, like, social services got involved, and in the end they did move me out, and I did end up living permanently in that auntie's house. My biological parents are still together and still living in the original home, but I was in a different home. And then as time was going on, I was like, still everywhere, still running, but I was then like between two different family homes. So I was in like a different, my actual parents now are actually my biological auntie and uncle, and they were kind of co-parenting me with my other aunties. So I was basically between two aunties at this point. And then I was at an age then that Kate mentioned I went to college, and it was just, that's when my new life started to be, because like when I moved in with my new auntie, my first auntie, sorry, everyone knew I was still an old life for me, because everybody knew I was still in the same area. Everyone knew what was going on. I was still in school. I was still going through it all. And then when I moved to Llanelli, well, I was going to college. I was between the two. I was meeting so many new friends, and fresh start. And then like it just made more sense to me to be permanently there. And then like I said, like I was still involved with social services and stuff. Like I had a social worker that was coming to see me all the time, and it was just made sense to them. basically, if who I refer to my parents now as my parents now, if they didn't take me in, I would have been gone to care.
Yeah.
It just ended up where when they did their, like, you know, when they do all the home checks and stuff, it wasn't suitable for me in the first home. So the social services put to my parents now, if you don't take her in, she's going to go into care.
Yeah.
So not that it was like they didn't want to, they did anyway because they were doing everything for me that they needed to. But like it was that decision where, look, you either take her in or we've got to put her into the care system. So they did. They took me in permanently. They became a legal guardians, and I stayed there when I was in college. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Like everything I needed as a child, they gave me everything I needed as a child to live, pretty much. And it's crazy. That was the worst part for me, believe it or not. Like they saved me in the sense of gave me this life, but it ruined me because I realised how
what you'd come from.
Yeah. I realised like how much I'd missed out on and what I'd missed out on and what wasn't normal to what is. And like it re-sculpted me as a person. So like the reason why I am this savage motherfucker Sarah is because that's what my mum is like.
Yeah.
She's brutal.
Yeah.
Like she's no filter. Like she tells you straight. And that was awful for me at the beginning because I wasn't used to anyone
saying anything.
No one saying anything. I had no one to tell me what time to come home. Coming home at all, actually. Like I'd go when I was living in Llanelli, I'd do what I want. I'd go and stay in places, and my mum would be like, "Wait, when time you home?" And I'm like, "I'm not coming home." She's like, "What?"
Yeah.
My mum's strict. Like she's got 3 boys, all older. You know, she has to be strict. She'd be like, "You're coming home," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." And she'd be like, "I will drive around Llanelli and come find you. You're coming home." And she would just shout at me. She'd be like, "What are you doing? We don't do this in this family." Like, and I just didn't understand. I could not communicate.
Would they understand at all around like this is really different to what she's used to, or was it just like a jump straight in new life?
A bit of both because they to be honest with you, I'd spent a lot of time with them growing up anyway because they always looked after me a lot. Like even before any of this, you'd stayed a lot there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like they were a massive part of my life anyway.
Yeah.
So they knew me, they knew where I'd come from, they knew everything. So it wasn't like they had no idea.
No.
But it was a point where like my mum's so cutthroat that she's like, I don't care. Like you're living in this house. This is the rules.
Yeah.
This is the respect you need to be showing us. And I love that. Like I could get it, and I needed that discipline.
Do you think that allowed you to be like, right, okay, this has happened?
No,
okay.
It turned me the other way.
Wow. Okay.
I struggled with my mental health so much.
Yeah.
I felt like these 2 people loved me so much that, and they did, like I said, they did everything for me that I needed as a child. Bought me clothes, put a roof over my head, fresh food on the table. Not even fresh food on the table.
Yeah.
Do you know what's mental is they would pick me up and take me to college. They would pick me up and take me to my games. Like never had that before. I had to rely on somebody else to take me. Like, and it sounds so stupid, but I would be like amazed. I'd be like, "Can you come pick me up?" And they'd be like, "Yeah," and I'd be like,
"Oh, so you're not used to it?"
Not used to it. Like miss the bus, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'll take you in." It's mental. Someone's needed my boots broke. All right, we'll go get you. Like it sounds so stupid, but I just wasn't used to that level of care, and I just couldn't communicate properly. I was such an angry child. Like we were speaking in the car, like in my old house, like my door frame in my bedroom used to hang off because I used to be so angry. I'd slam the door so hard that I'd keep wrecking the door frame. It used to hang off, didn't it?
Yeah.
That when I moved in, like I said, I couldn't communicate properly.
But like they were making you a priority, and almost in a way that was so painful because that's what you needed to do with
this is normal. Like, and then it makes you almost realise the lack thereof that you had before.
That's what spiraled my mental health. Like,
that's really interesting. You know how I think maybe a lot of people would assume in that scenario that your mental health would be worse pre-new life.
But I was fine pre-life. I was fine
it's all
because
you ever knew. Like genuinely, as a child, that is the time in your life where you get to learn what your normal is. Where you're so like your brain is so plastic. It's getting molded, and that had been molded into your normal. So it's essentially like completely flipping your life upside down.
Yeah, and then like. I think that was when I started realising what actually happened. So when I was in this new life, in this new home, in this new safe environment, that's when my brain started thinking. And, I had some really, really dark periods in my life where I was so depressed. Like, and I know we mentioned it briefly on episode 3 when I was like, I've had a
that was
mental
the first
health
I
blip.
heard.
Yeah, and I was like, when I
too.
said it, I was like, oh my God, I've just said this and no one actually has any idea that I struggle with my mental health.
Yeah.
I was suicidal. I was literally on medication, like to a point I was like self-harming. I literally was like, I'd written my suicide note. I'd picked my funeral song. Like I was ready to go. I just, because I didn't see a way out. And even though I was in a safe space, that's when I started grieving for this last 8 years that just happened to me as a child. And like I said, I just didn't see a way out.
So the last thing that you would have imagined is being where you are now.
Yeah, and like my, I felt what I was struggling with was, even though I was in this family, I felt so not in the family. Like I wanted them to be my biological parents so much that I was wishing for something that was never going to be able to happen.
Rather than just being like, it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah. And like, I could struggle with like talking about memories or like family photos. Like my mum would post a photo on Instagram of the boys and I wouldn't be obviously in it. And that would trigger me. That would upset me so much because like, it is what it is. Like, you know, obviously there's younger photos of them, but I would take it personally and be like, oh, I wasn't even born when some of these photos were being taken. But like,
you were just like, I'm not there. Yeah.
I'm not part of the family. Like, it felt like they were all in the house, the door locked, and I was stood on the door mat outside. Like, that's how it constantly felt. And I was my own worst enemy in that sense because, like I said, they did everything for me that they needed to for me. But I was so ill. I was so in my own head because now that I was safe, everything started bubbling, you know?
If you think sorry.
Go on, no, you go.
I was going to say, it's like you were in fight mode constantly, so you never had a chance to actually sit with those feelings.
Exactly,
it's like it was fight or flight and you were constantly fighting, so the adrenaline was keeping you going. And it's only when you actually had a chance to settle, and if you think how many years worth of things, then how do you process that? Because it's like you're still a child, a teenager as well, so you're not even in, like, now we're in a mature brain that you can process that. Like, how
Yeah, like I was gonna say a similar thing, like, not if you've just been on for so long and having to survive, like that's literally survival is the only thought. It's not until you actually are safe and then you're not having to think about, right, when am I going to eat, like what you know, what am I going to have to do, then you actually have, like you're saying, you have the time and the space to be like, hang on a minute. And also you also see the other side of it and you're like, this is what normality is.
Yeah.
And I just felt like what a big thing for me was when I was younger, I was like, why is it just me? Like, why is no one else? I'm the only one. Like, I'm the weird one. Like, no one else has got this life like me. Why is it just me? And like, when I was then going into this new life, in like when I was in college and stuff, and like, you know, like people's parents come to the games and whatever, and I was just a bit overwhelmed because I was a bit like, oh, this is what normal life should be like, and I don't have that, and it was a bit. It was hard because I just felt so lonely and so alone, and I was like, is this what life's like going to be like for me now where it's just me? Yes, it was really difficult, and like I said, my mental health was, through that college period, was awful. I dropped out of my first year of uni because I was literally so severely depressed. Like, again, I went to uni, and everyone, I was friends with like Jazz Joyce, Ellie Norkett, like Meg Daly, like girls like that come from really family oriented places that people, you'd go home on the weekend to see their parents, or they'd come up to watch them, and I was just on my own. Like, when I went to uni, like my parents were just like, I think they felt like, oh, just leave her go and blossom by it, like to give her the space to go, you know. And I don't like, nothing, no malice in it, but I was so alone. I was so alone. Like, I was playing rugby at the time when I needed to move in, so they set my whole room up, made my room nice, things on the wall, like they did everything to set me up for uni. But when I was there, I felt so lonely that it was a trigger. Like, I was surrounded by everybody else that had
It
family.
felt like when you were young.
When I was young, and it was a trigger for me again, that it has sent me into a hole, and I dropped out in the end because I was like, my life was like on the line. And I moved back home, and I was just in a really, really really negative, dangerous place.
How did you get out of that?
Rugby.
Yeah, I remember now episode 3 saying about how I think you touched on
Rugby
that you were
being
on medication and rugby became your medicine.
So I had a social worker when I was in college, because obviously social services were having to review us every month to check that I was I was all right, and where I was living was safe. I can remember I was really in the worst stage of my mental health, and she was asking me, I was sat on the sofa, my mum was with her, and she was asking me, how are you feeling? Like, are you, how are you feeling? And I was honest. I was like, I'm very emotional. I was like, I'm not in a good place and stuff. I'm having dark thoughts and whatever. And she asked me, like, are you thinking of taking your own life? And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. And I think that was a really scary thing for my mum, because she was a bit like, we knew she was struggling, but we didn't think she was struggling that much. Yeah. But actually the next day was my under-18s regional final. And I it's crazy when you think about it, like, the day before I'm talking about how I want to take my own life, and I'm speaking about how much I'm struggling, and the next day I've just turned up to play rugby like I'm fine. Yeah. But that was the best part, because that was like, that was what was like plugging me out of the hole. So rugby was like, for me, was the safe space I needed, was the thing that provided me with the family that I didn't have, like the friends, the community that I didn't have, and like it just made me feel like it was me, like this new life. Nobody knew really about what I was going through, what happened, so everyone was judging me based off what I was presenting, and that's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want any sympathy or any negative treatment based on what I was going through, like, oh, she's a risk, we can't have her because she's a risk, or pity, we'll include her because she's going through I didn't want any of that. I wanted to be there because I deserved to be there based off how I was performing and what my attitude was. So I just kind of just went all into rugby, and it just kept like getting better and better. I was doing more, like I was getting into age group stuff, and it just was like the drug for me. Like I was on medication, but I got to a point I was doing so much rugby that I didn't really feel like I needed it. I was close to one of the girls that lived up the road, and I was staying over a house, and I was like, fuck, I forgot my medication, balls. So I had to run home, and my mum was like, what's the matter? And I was like, oh, I forgot my meds, and I'm staying up the road, and I'll take my meds. But I said, but you know what, I don't think I'm gonna take them anymore. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, I just don't feel like I really need them anymore. And she was like, okay, all right. And then we discussed, okay, well, maybe we just start weaning off them, rather than going cold turkey. So that's what I did. I started weaning off them, and in the end I didn't need them anymore, because rugby became my drug. And that's why I'm so attached to the sport now. And like I said, when I did interviews not long ago about getting emotional about why rugby's so important, is because it literally saved my life.
Wow. That's very powerful. I want to come and give you a hug.
It was just there for me when nobody else was. And I could turn up and be me, and I could turn up and I could leave everything that was happening at the side of the field, and I'd always feel so much better after it. The biggest thing for me was that I was just being judged for me, and I was being accepted for me, and I could be so passionate about something I cared so much about, and I was there because of my ability, not because of what I'd been through or whatever. Like, and like I said to you, when I say it saved my life, it did, because if I didn't have rugby in that time, I probably wouldn't be here anymore. So I get so emotional about, like, well, funny enough, I did leading up to the Commonwealth Games, we went to Australia, and one of the coaches did a speech about what we had to bring to the shirt presentation, about what's our why. And I spent hours writing my why. Everyone, people said like my mum or my whatever, and I gave this speech and I couldn't even read it. Philippa Tatia was sat next to me, and she had to read my why for me, because I was so emotional, because my why is because rugby is my why, pretty much, because that's what got me out of.
You're here.
Yeah, pretty much.
How did it feel then coming out of that? So, that you'd weaned off your medication and you're in a better place than you've been ever, I assume, at that point. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I was in college. College was the best thing that ever happened to me, because, like I said, it's new life, new friends, me just presenting as me, being treated as me, normal girl from a normal family, like exactly how I wanted. But my mental health was so bad that like the lecturers in college are amazing, like Math Williams and Kath Roberts, like they deserve every shout out because like I'd be crying in their office for hours and hours and hours. But after that, I kind of felt like yeah, okay, I'm in a good place. Like, you know, I have down days and stuff, but I was kind of just trying to put it to the back of my mind and being fine. It was just when I went to uni then, that happened all over
Resurface
again.
things.
Yeah, it was like a trigger. Like,
At what point then at uni, when did you start to see like the light at the end of the tunnel? Then
I didn't.
You didn't.
I think I was there until like the January or the February, and I left because I was struggling so much.
And then obviously you ended up going back to uni.
Yeah.
What was the story about that?
So even though I quit uni and I dropped out, I actually kept my uni house in Cardiff. I can remember my dad being like, right, you need to come home now. You know, you're not very well. Come home. You know, we look after you at home. It's silly if you go back to Cardiff. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And like, I had many arguments with my parents about it because they were like, it's stupid. But they didn't, obviously now it's different. But back then I can understand what they thought it was. But I knew why I needed to stay in Cardiff. Like, I just wanted to find myself. I wanted to become independent. I didn't want to rely on these people looking after me to like keep protecting me all the time now. Like, I needed to grow. I needed to find out who I was and what I wanted to do. You know, I was at an age where I literally didn't have a clue. All these girls had ideas of what they wanted their future to look like, and I didn't have an absolute Scooby. So, like, I worked in the gym. At one point then I was going to be a nurse. I was doing like care and stuff because I was going to go to uni to be a nurse. I turned up
No
to...
offence, Fee, but I can't imagine you as a nurse.
And my mum said that. I suppose my mum, she said that same thing. But I was trying to figure out all my personality. Like, I'm really caring and stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll try that. Like, I didn't have a clue. So I was like, turned up to my uni nurse interview, and I drove home. I didn't even do it. I stood at the door and I was like, nah, this isn't right. I actually got offered 2 scholarships to go to America to play rugby.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't have any money behind me though. So that's the only reason why I didn't go. Like, I come from nothing, so I was like, I have no money, and even though I got offered a scholarship, I'd still need money to live, and I didn't have that. So we figured out that obviously wasn't possible. So then in the end I was like, right, well, what do I do now? Like, and the only option for me, I thought, was the only solution was to go back to uni. And in the end, obviously it worked out well, because after that then I did my PGC and became a teacher, which I'm really, really, really goddamn proud of. But I really didn't know what to do because I never had the time to think about it, really.
What do you think if there were... Okay, this is a big question. What do you think if there's one thing... And I think for a lot of people, they would ask you this question, say, what are you most proud of in your rugby career? But that's not... Let's park the rugby career bit. What are you most proud of?
Surviving.
Yeah. I'm proud of you for that as well. That's so important for people to hear, because I think a lot of people, you speak about what are you proud of, people instantly go to their achievements. Or well, I got a first in uni, or I won this cross country race when I was 8 years old or whatever. But that is something you should be unbelievably proud of.
Don't get me wrong, like, I'm so proud of my achievements in the sense of, and I'm not proud because I graduated. I'm proud because no one thought I was going to. I'm proud for doing a postgraduate because no one thought I was capable of doing it. I'm proud of playing for Wales because no one thought that I could do it. And that's the different side of the appreciation, is because I care so much and I'm so proud of these things because I was so written off and no one thought this was going to be my future. And like I spoke earlier, that's been my fuel. Because I've achieved these things off my own back. Like, the reason I stayed in Cardiff was because I wanted to do it by myself. I didn't want to, like, I wanted to look back on which I'm doing now and reflect and just be like, you did this all on your own. Like, I moved to Cardiff and I made decisions what's best for me. Like, I did my degree by myself, my postgraduate by myself. I was going to put the hard work in to achieve my rugby. Like, yes, my parents now gave me the platform as a child to do this, but I made the decisions for the life that I wanted. And I think I could have easily when I was really struggling, like, I wanted to go, I wanted to take my life, and I could have made the decision to do so, but I chose not to. What
was it in that, like, in that moment, what was it that made you not want to?
I think it was because of the life that I knew I deserved to live.
That's big. No, that's very powerful.
Like, I knew that I was suffering because of somebody else, and I knew I didn't deserve that. Like, I was going through hell because of other people's actions. I was like, this isn't fair. Like, I'm just a child. I'm just a kid. Like, why do I deserve this suffering all the time? Like, they're not suffering, they're fine, they're living, literally, they live this happy, lovely life, and I'm the one that's going through it all of the time. And I just kept telling myself, you're better than this. Like, I just had this really strange feeling, and I'm being really honest, I just had this burning sensation inside me where I knew I was capable of something. Like, it's really difficult to explain. Like, I just knew I was gonna be good enough, and I knew that, like, when I spoke about self-belief a lot throughout this season, like, that's why. Like, when I've had so many years where I'm the only one that believed in myself, and that is why, like, I kept telling myself in darker days, like, come on, like, you know, you believe that you've got a future that you're going to be proud of. You just have to keep going. Like, you have to keep believing in yourself. And like I said, like, I really struggled with self-harm for a lot of the time. And when I talk about these 2 lives, I was even making decisions of where I was doing this self-harm because I didn't want people to know. So I was even making decisions in this protection mode of, like, I'm not going to do it on my arm because someone's going to know I'm doing it. So I do it in places where it would never be seen. Like, I was making decisions all the time of self-protection. And like, I was making decisions based on how best to survive, which also I knew in time was going to build myself up to this future I'm living now.
And that's where the hard exterior comes from.
Yes, this is why I am the way I am. Yeah,
like, and it's really interesting because, you know, until potentially this episode comes out, a lot of the people in your life, be that through rugby, whatever, wouldn't know this about you. And if, you know, some, you know, once upon a time I was scared of Ffion as well. But
I get that
you know,
lot.
like, but you know, when you meet you, if you're like, just say it how it is to someone, someone could be like, well, all right then. But no one knows why. And I think the biggest lesson from something like that is to actually not react to things for the way you see them, because you don't know. You don't know.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
That's exactly it, right?
And that's been my entire life, though. That has been my life where, like, I've been so judged. And and I think this is a big thing for me by speaking out about it, is other people's understanding. Like, I've never told any rugby coaches what I've been through because I didn't want the different treatment. Either side, positive or negative, didn't want it. But I've learned now, at this stage now, where I'm like, okay, they need to understand me more. Like, me telling them this will have better understanding of why
shape the way you are.
Yes, it is. And it's why it shaped my morals, it shaped my values. Like, I'm very honest because that's how I've had to be. I've got no bullshit policy because I've met so many arseholes my entire life where, like, I've had to be the self-protective mode, and like, I don't have time for, like, I'm honest because that's the only way I've learned. That's the only way I've known how to live. And it's quite a Marmite thing. You either like it, you don't. But unfortunately, that is how I've had to survive.
But I do also think people understanding the why behind it is a big thing in that as well.
Yeah, and there's no bad intention from it.
No.
I just don't like the bullshit, really.
I actually really enjoy the way you just tell it. Oh, you're very upfront with me.
I'm glad you've had some tough truths haven't you?
It's been like that. Like, I think you're so authentic. Even though we say, oh, you've lived 2 lives and things, you have always managed to stay so kind of like authentic and genuine as
you're
well.
You're the same person.
You are, you know.
Even when I know what you're getting with me, I hope. And I think, like, I know, like I said, you just said, like, I'm live 2 lives, but I hope that what I still present is what you get from me. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I want it to be like. But I think for you, like, obviously for you, Kate, like, you've been here my entire life. What like, I'm sure you assumed that my life now wasn't going to be the life that we, you know.
It's a funny one, because whenever I speak to you, like, to people about you, like, they're always like, oh, she's doing really well, you know, with everything. Like, do you know what I mean? They, like we literally just said. But I don't think I ever actually thought that you were going to go down. Like, I think I've always felt how you said that you were always so kind of strong-willed and determined. You always gave off that energy that you were not going to be beaten down by anything. So I never think that I thought that you were not going to make anything of yourself, or like, not in that I knew where you were going to end up, but I never. And it's so hard, like, now thinking about it, because, like, obviously we were children, we were, you know, you were going through this thing and I was around, but I don't think I realized till we speak about it now how big and how how much of an effect it had on you, because you just handled things so amazingly for that age, and you just it's so so wild to talk, like to think about it now, because you never, it's just about, not that you weren't like vulnerable, but like you never
showed it.
Yeah, but not about it. Like you never let any, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. You never.
Did I just get on with it? Is that what you're trying to say?
In a way, but like there was such like a strength and like a strength there that was like really amazing. And it's only now when I think about it at the age you were that you just took out on everything that is so inspiring.
It's funny because it's funny when I hear someone else give me how they perceive me. Like, it's crazy because I don't feel like I was like acting strong and acting in a way that I was like,
you were in it.
And it's really like, funny enough, Dale, he gets a lot of shouters in his
I
podcast.
actually told him today, you need to start listening to the podcast because you actually get mentioned on every other one.
But I was speaking to him about it, and I was like, we were speaking about why I haven't told people things. I don't want to be deemed as weak or a risk or blah blah blah. And he was like, have you ever thought that people look at you and probably like, actually, you're actually really strong. I've got respect for what you've been through and stuff. And I was like, no, I don't feel like that. And it's like funny when like Kate's saying, I'm like, but I think when the only way you know is to survive, you just get on with it. Yeah. And I think that's why my mindset is the way it is now with like life in general, is that like when you've been through so much trauma, you kind of know how to cope with things, or you know your coping mechanisms, or you know, it's not the end of the world. There's gonna be you're gonna be able to get out of it, you know. It's funny, I did ask him if I could mention this before, but when I met my boyfriend Jack, I've been with him 5 years now, and met in Dubai, and he was giving me this drunken chat on the stairs about like his family life, and like his parents are divorced, and they've got children in separate marriages, and he was really embarrassed to tell me about it, because he's a bit like, he didn't know. He's like, she might judge me because, you know, they split up, and I got different brothers and sisters and stuff, and it sounds so rude, and please don't judge me for this, because at the time I allowed a beer at this point, but he was telling me, and he was like, I'm worried to tell you and stuff, and I was like, I looked at him in like a pause, and I was like, is that it? And he was like, what? And I was like, there's nothing wrong with that. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, I expected like a big speech or what. But obviously it sounds really bad, but in the moment, but on reflection, obviously for him that was a big deal. And as he was worried about that.
Little did he know.
And then little did he know, I literally said to him,
oh, sunshine.
Listen, you good boy. I said, we need more than 4, because at this point we sat there for 4 hours. I was like, we need a day to let you know what my life is like. And I was like, I was reassuring, obviously, like, I'm not judging you. If your life was my life, I'd be happy with that. But like, it's crazy how, and that did change my perspective on stuff, because people's own experiences, like everyone has their like views their own trauma in a different way. If you've never experienced trauma, something that I might view as really small might be huge to someone else, because that might be their first insight to trauma or something tough. And that's what I've had to really be understanding with, because it's very rare to go through probably the amount I have for the last 27 years, but I need to be understanding where, like I said, that could be someone's first insight to trauma. So that's a big one. And like people say to me this year, how have you got through it? I'm like, trust me, this is like 2%. But it is all about perspective. Like I said, like I thought about this day for a long time, and I've never been strong enough to do it. But like, I knew what I wanted out of this story was to help somebody else. And I want like not even just kids, but I want anyone that could be in my position, whether that the age I am now or older, or people younger who are maybe going through something like this, to see that there is hope. Like, and that I felt guilt. Okay, so I've carried so much guilt over the last few years, because I knew I was holding back something that could help somebody else. When I was younger, I knew I never had anyone like me. I didn't know anyone else going through it. I was the weird one. I never had someone successful knowing someone successful that had gone through what I had, to know there was hope. And I've carried the guilt of keeping this story, because there's kids out there that need to hear it. They think that they're not going to make it. There's no hope for them because of where they're from or what they're going through. But there is, because that was me, and I was the one that got myself out of that. I made decisions based on what I wanted my future to look like, and there's hope, and that's the biggest thing, and that's what I kept holding on to. But that's why I think self-belief, like I've mentioned before, is so important, because if I didn't have that self-belief, my future would be completely different. Like people can create a platform for you in a safe space, but it's all down to you, how you make them. Yeah, you're in complete control of it, and you can be presented with opportunities, but it's how you take them at the end of the day.
100%. Before we finish, I want to say that when you touched on what you're most proud of, surviving, I'm very proud of you for that too. But B, I'm very proud of you for thriving now. And I know it can be hard. It's hard to be proud of yourself. And we know that this is your work.
Very hard, very bad at
And it's something that I've tried to be really big with you on as well, because it's hard to look at what you've done and to be proud of it, because it can come across as arrogant. It can come across as like, well, you know, it's just, I'm doing it, so here's what it is. Like, but it's so important to stop, reflect. And I thought this before I even knew any of that. And I've been saying this to you about injuries and about your endo and everything. Like, stop, look at how far you've come. But even more so now, stop, look at how far you've come.
I think my issue is because I'm constantly chasing for what's next, because I know what it's like not have anything at all. And I put this pressure on myself where I needed to keep achieving, because I had a fear of being the result of my upbringing. I had a fear of being where everyone else thought I was going to be. I was going to be the consequence of a shitty life. And I've had that fear, and I've carried that fear my entire life, which is why I did the opposite and continue to try and be the opposite and create a future that is not what everyone thought of. So I think that's why I'm so bad at being proud of myself, because I'm constantly looking for what's next, because I'm like, I can't settle, because I need to keep achieving, because I deserve to keep going and not be that person that everyone thought I was going to be, you know. But like I said, this year has been massive for me in acceptance. Like I said, this is the scariest thing I've ever done, but I'm so ready to let go of it, and there's so much I want to do, and so much I want to help so many people, but I've never been able to do it because I've never shared this story before. And I want to be a support for kids like me, but again, I've never been able to, and I've prevented that because I wasn't ready to do it. I wasn't ready to share my story, and now that I have, I feel like I can now, there's a big chunk of my life that I can now achieve because I've now had the strength to let go
Get rid of it. Nice. Should we do the book?
Sure.
Should we do the book?
Let's do the book.
Right then, your question. Oh my goodness, that is very slanty writing. Do you actually know what this says? Does anyone know what this says?
Oh, I don't know.
Right, okay. I've got it. What would be the one thing that you would change in your life, and why?
To be honest, there isn't much I would change, because my past has made me the person I am today. The trauma has taught me a lot, taught me really important lessons. It's created and developed the values that I've got now, and I'm proud of the value. Like, I'm proud of that person now. Like, I am who I am because of what I've been through, and it makes me appreciate people and life in a different way, because I know what it's like to not have anything and not have anyone. So it's funny how it's funny how I've been through all of that, but would not change it, because it's got me to where I am now. But I think the only thing I would probably change is probably bring back the people that aren't here anymore.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful. I've never thought of it like that, actually.
Yeah.
And a fun one to
Okay.
finish. What is your favourite movie?
Oh gosh. Harry Potter. Don't know why I had to pretend to think about
gosh. Harry Potter 1, 2,
Harry
3, 4,
Potter.
5.
I've literally binged that. I could tell you all of the films word for word. Literally love it.
You used to have the PlayStation game as well.
PlayStation game. Yeah, all the DVDs, all the videos. I watched it on the plane to and from Dubai.
You got a favourite quote from Harry Potter?
You put me on the spot now.
It's Leviosa.
Yeah, it's Leviosa. Well, to be fair, we used to play it in primary school. Kate was obviously Hermione.
What if I directed the school and you played Ron?
Yeah, I'm Ron. Why am I Ron? I'm not Ginger. Kate was Hermione.
Oh, boy.
You always played the boy characters.
Always
That's so
the boy
hard.
character. I was such a tomboy in school. Like, I was the boy. Well, no, Kate would just give me the crappy characters all the time.
No, but you were the daredevil. Like, I'd make you jump out of a tree first, and then I'd
try
check
everything
it
first. Remember that time you made me? We tied a skipping rope over to a plastic chair, and we what do you call it?
Abseiled
Down
down
a
a
wall
wall
with a skipping rope attached to a plastic chair. But I'd have to try it first.
7
Yeah, of
foot
course.
drop.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But
yeah,
yeah, thank you so much, Kate, for being my emotional support, which you've been my entire life, to be fair.
Oh no, I just think you should be so proud of yourself, and yeah, I'm just in awe of you for doing this, and yeah, keep chasing your dreams. You're amazing.
Here's to the next 27 years.
Wow, no,
54 then, bloody hell.
I know, I still be
Everybody
stuck.
sat here in this seat.
Still be stuck with it. But yeah, just to finish, like I said, I created this podcast around a vision, and like I told myself, if you get to a point and you're brave enough to do it, then you can be episode 10. And like I built that confidence each episode where I was like speaking with people who were also being vulnerable, and I got to a stage and I can remember speaking to you in North Wales being like, okay, just to let you know, I'm episode 10, and you were like,
Like,
what?
all right. No, I didn't say it like that. I was like, all right then. Can I know why? What? No. Okay.
I just wanted like the response to be as authentic as
response, yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be scripted, and I didn't want, even though I got a piece of paper full of notes I haven't even looked at.
Hey, writing it down is good to start
Yeah,
off
I
with.
just wanted that kind of natural response like you would with everybody else.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for being open and giving me this opportunity to.
Well, no, thank you. Thank you for sharing, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate you,
Thank you.
because I really, really do. And yeah, I feel very grateful to be in your passionate bubble.
You are. You're
Um,
locked in.
I'm locked in.
Tried to kick her out last week.
We don't talk about that.
She's straight back in.
Yeah, but no,
Um,
seriously.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's not
I-
many people in my trusted circle.
I
It's the
know.
reason why my circle's very small.
Yeah.
For now, you know why.
Yeah.
But you have graduated to the circle.
Get in.
welcome.
Can't wait for. Can we have a graduation? Where
Yeah,
Gavin-
next week in the party.
Yeah, true. True.
But yeah, we're flipping heck at the end of season 10.
At the end. What?
Season 10.
Season-
Episode
season
10. Season 1.
Gosh, you just look forward ahead there.
But yeah, thank you both for just being with me and accepting me for me.
Thank you for saying
Very
it how it is, Ffion.
Yeah, well, I had to literally practice
Yeah.
what I preach,
Yeah.
really, at the end of the day. Like, I've said all this and wearing this t-shirt, and that I had to, practice what I goddamn preach, eh?
Hey.
But, yeah, all right.
All right
Cool.
then.
Thanks for
Remember.
To keep saying it how it is.